Well, hello and welcome. It's wonderful to be doing this. My name is Anna Isabel, and I'm an astrologer and an analytical hypnotherapist. And with me today, I have Mary English, who always makes me smile. She is also an astrologer, but if you check out her website, you'll see she does lots of things, amongst which it seems palmistry, homeopathy, and hypnotherapy. So, Mary, welcome. How lovely to have you here today.
Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I thought it would be nice to learn a little bit more about what you do. For one thing, what always sticks in my mind is that you've written this wonderful series on the different signs of the zodiac. And the titles always make me giggle. The one that comes to mind always is How to Cheer Up a Capricorn. And the other one, How to Bond with an Aquarius. I mean, they just make me laugh every time I look at those titles. So I figured there must be something quite cheeky going on in your chart. And lo and behold, not only are you a Pisces, but you also have the moon in Gemini, which I think accounts for the variety of tools that you use. So what's your favorite one? Do you have a favorite?
I don't. It swings between one and another. I mean, yes, it sort of goes up and down. Astrology's very high on my list of things that I like. It's higher than any of the others. But then between the hypnotherapy and the homeopathy and the other things, it swings. So it's literally swings and roundabouts. So one day even I'll be more into one than I might do the next. And I do like to flit around the place. I mean, my chart shape is quite a splash. There's planets way around the circle. So I do enjoy doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
It's with Mercury in Pisces and being a Pisces, it's irresistible, isn't it? Hypnosis.
Yeah, and it's retrograde. My Mercury's retrograde. Yeah.
Right. How did you find that retrograde when you were little?
Well, the thing that I discovered was I just didn't like to be taught. I found that I preferred to teach myself, and I have taught myself a lot. I mean, I didn't teach myself homeopathy. I had to go to college for that, or hypnotherapy. But the astrology, I definitely taught myself. It was like a duck to water. And in the educational system, because of the moon in Gemini, I moved schools a lot. My parents travelled a great deal, and my dad was a Saggy, my mum was Aquarius with moon in Gemini. And so when I was little, there was a constant change of schools. So I never really got into the school system. And then I went to school in the UK. I went to a Catholic school. And then I went to an American school in Switzerland. So I was working my way through the American syllabus. Then I came back to the UK and I went to a college in London. And so my education was basically all over the place. And I didn't do particularly well at school. What I did do well at was sewing. That was the thing that I was best at, and singing. I was and acting. So those were all things that I was pretty good at. So in the American school, I was in the school plays. In the Catholic school, I did a lot of singing and also drama. And I had singing lessons from the age of probably about 9 or 10, because I had a good singing voice. Yeah.
I was going to say, as befits a Leo ascendant.
Yeah, I'm not shy. I don't suffer from shyness, and I wrote that on my internet profile when I was dating before I met my husband. I'm not shy and I'm not quiet, because he was looking for somebody quiet and he didn't hit lucky on that one.
Well, Leo ascendants, creativity and talents are often nurtured in childhood. Were you a favored child, do you think?
No, I was the black sheep. I was in the middle. So there's two older than me and two younger than me. And I felt like I was the black sheep. I was the only water sign. So I've got two siblings that are Aquarius. One sibling's Capricorn, and my oldest brother was a Virgo with the Aquarius and Sagittarius parents. And so I really felt very out of the family. I liked being part of the family, but also did all the wrong things and got into trouble. Was my older sister did exactly the same thing as me, but never got caught. And then I was accused later on in life. The reason I got caught is because I'm so gobby. It was me that would tell the story of what I've done. So I'm hopeless at keeping a secret. Luckily, I'm confidential when it comes to clients, but I'm a bit chatty. So they're not telling my parents that I'd done whatever it would. Yeah, I was constantly in trouble.
Well, that feeling of being the outsider, I think with Pluto in the first house, that's a very, I was going to say common experience, but I think it's much more than that. It's part of the DNA of Pluto in the first house. That as a child, you feel like you're a bit of an alien in the world. So
Yeah,
it's
and it
not
adds the
surprising.
drama. I mean, luckily my Pluto isn't in Leo as well. That would be really difficult.
Yeah.
It's in Virgo, so it's out of sign. But there is that sort of romantic sort of Victorian drama things. There was lots of dramas when I was growing up. One sister came out gay, another sister got pregnant at university, and my brother decided to marry somebody who wasn't Catholic, and then I dated somebody later on after my father died. Dated somebody and married somebody who was Jewish. My mother was actually fine about that because she was engaged to somebody Jewish. But there was always, it was because there were 5 children, there was always something going on with one of the kids.
Yeah. The other thing that struck me when you were speaking about your school time was Venus does rule your 3rd house, but it's in Aquarius. And there's that hallmark of Aquarius running the 3rd house, that you would have disruptions to the education, and you certainly did. And then again, you've got your Venus opposite Uranus, adding more color. And then there's Neptune. How do you think the Neptune in the 3rd operated for you? Did you feel inclined to rescue any of your siblings, or?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did.
My youngest sister was born with Down syndrome, and she's 7 years, well, was because she's died now, but she's 7 years younger than me. And when she was born, my mother came home and said, Katie's different and she has Down syndrome. I don't know what that meant. And we're all going to have to chip in and sort of help her out. And that was it. I was on this mission. I was going to become a teacher for mentally handicapped. It never manifested because I didn't have the qualifications. But I spent the rest of my childhood looking after her. I mean, not that my mother didn't look after her, because she did, but I was very concerned about her and had a really, really good relationship with her. And in a way, it was almost sort of psychic. And then when she got much older and my mother couldn't look after her anymore, I got a care package organised for the two of them. And she died of she died of complications. She had dementia and a B12 deficiency, and died very early. She was only 47. And the people with Down syndrome, because my husband, now wait for this now, my husband's sibling, his older brother, also had Down syndrome. So when we first met, it was like, oh my God. And I was going, and he was going, I've got something to tell you. What? My brother has Downs. I went, really? My sister's got Downs. I was just so chuffed. And I was never ashamed of my sister with her Down syndrome. I just thought it was great. It was like, it made it, because the whole Aquarius thing in the family, now I've got Venus and Mars and Aquarius. It's just like, this is unique. And I just thought it was marvelous that she was different, and she definitely was different. And she was very clever. She learned to read and write and everything. Used to write letters every day to pop stars and stuff. She wrote on average between 20 and 30 letters a week.
I love it. Well, again, that Neptune link to Venus, that mirror in your marriage of what happened within your family, with your siblings, and there it is with your husband as well, because of that link mirroring it. And yes, with Aquarius, there would be something unusual that would come in. And you talked about the a psychic link between you as well. And I think there's that Neptune in the third, and you being a Pisces anyway. So now I have to ask you this, because it's irresistible. It's irresistible. And it's just, just for our audience, Mary has been writing a book about her quest for, I guess, a good way of putting it might be to link with, or to find divinity. And whilst going through a Neptune transit, and I'm just wondering, how's it going? How is Neptune treating a Pisces?
It's weird, because I've never lived through it before. I've lived through Saturn. I must have lived through Jupiter, and Uranus. Yeah, lived through that. And then Neptune's just such a totally different thing. I do feel more in touch with what I feel a Pisces is. And the title of the Pisces book is How to Survive a Pisces, because all the book titles are tongue-in-cheek, because they are. And because I talk about myself as being a reformed Pisces, because I know how bad a Pisces can be. And I lived that life of being that uncontrollable, messy, don't know what I'm doing, what's happening to me, Pisces. I lived that life until the day that I didn't. And in fact, astrology helped with that. And living through the Neptune transit, I feel much more of a Pisces, but not an apologetic Pisces. I'm happy to be concerned about those Neptune things like migrants and people getting stuck on boats and drowning in the sea. It's awful, and all those sort of compassionate type of things that Pisces likes. My husband always jokes, when I have a little holiday, I'll have a little weekend off here or there, a week here or there. And I'm always sort of saying, I need to be working. And then I'll start looking for some charity work. And so don't take any time off, because you'll end up volunteering, because I already volunteer for some charities, like you'll do some more volunteering. That's the sort of Pisces thing. But with the Neptune, and especially with it, I think it's near enough conjunct my Sun and my Mercury, near enough to it at the moment. I did start writing a journal as it started, because I wanted a specific journal, that is. I wanted to record what it was like to be living during that transit and to be aware of astrology. So I have formulated it. Is all together. It is sort of a book. I haven't quite decided how to publish it. I don't know if I want to I think I'll go back to self-publishing, actually, because I'm having a discussion with myself. And what Neptune has allowed me to do is, in the search for enlightenment, which is a horrible bloody thing, but I have got Leo ascendant, I have got a sun rule chart. It's about sort of finding more than just the material world. And there I am talking to a Taurus, but there are other things other than the material world. And the search for enlightenment is like, I got to the conclusion, well, actually, maybe I am enlightened already, because I'm happy with my life. And I sort of think there can be a quest for enlightenment, and for it to never be achieved or never to be attained. And I think that's awful, but that's just perpetual searching for it. I haven't got that. I'm just aware now of where I'm at.
Yeah, I think, the reality is that you have lived Pisces. You've lived the different faces of Pisces, and what you're doing is you're just, as time goes on, and perhaps with Neptune helping you, it's deepening the understanding of Pisces. And I think it's Neptune transits are, for many people, very confusing, and actually I think sometimes downright dangerous, because under Neptune transits, particularly the hard ones like squares, people can become alcoholics, they can get into drugs, and what that is, I think, is a kind of quest for divinity, because what they're wanting to do is dissolve the whole of life because it's pain. They're wanting to escape from pain, and you as a therapist understand that very well. And I think it's more than that. It's because of wanting to escape the pain. I think it's a subconscious desire to transcend um, the physical world that we know of and reach for something. But we've lost, in a materialist society, we've lost the obvious means to do that, which once upon a time would have been religion, with, for which, despite its limitations and faults, actually was still a door to connect with something beyond. And really, I guess we're talking about faith in some respects. So that could be quite dangerous, but I think it can also be, this word is floating around at the moment, as it would be with Neptune in Pisces, an awakening of sorts. And I think that perhaps what's happening is that you're awakening to how Pisces you actually are, in a sense, and finding, hey, I quite like this, because you can't escape the fact that you're a hypnotherapist, a homeopath. Those are very Piscean, I feel, disciplines. And the interests that you have in charity, etc., those are very Piscean. So perhaps for you, Neptune is realizing actually that you're very much at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely at home. Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's such a funny thing because even when you talk about Neptune, it's like, how do you put your finger on it? It's such a wibbly sort of planet. It isn't, you can't describe it in 3 words. And the other thing I observed, because I don't know if you've ever heard of Byron and Katie. No?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's an American lady, and she sort of got it at some point in her life by questioning her life, and she does a thing called The Work, and I follow her. I've read her books and like what she talks about, and it's questioning the beliefs that you have. Now, in the hypnotherapy, my teacher was, we have to get down to the client and find out what their beliefs are. So their beliefs, I am stupid, or my parents hate me, or whatever. So you get to the deep belief, and then you allow them either a reconciliation to it, or a repair of it, or a way of coping with it. And the Byron Katie, the work that she does is that you question your thoughts, and you question the thoughts that you believe. And just that, it's just, I mean, that was discovered during the Neptune and Pisces transit. I had read a bit about her a while back, but there's various people that I follow that I feel have got the voices for the various things. That Dean Radin, who wrote the book Real Magic, he actually is a Pisces, and then he wrote the book Real Magic during the Neptune Pisces transits. He's Sun sign Pisces, I think he's Moon sign Taurus, and he writes this book. It's about magic, and it's not about abracadabra sort of magic. It's about the real magic that exists. And he's a researcher. He works in the IONS Institute in America, and he's the one that sticks the electrodes on your head, and then there's somebody in another country, and then you pick the information up, all this psychic stuff. He's dedicated his life to psychic ability. Well, if that isn't a Pisces thing, I don't know what is. Do you know what I mean? And so there's certain Pisceans, don't get me wrong, Byron Katie isn't a Pisces, she's a Saggy, but there's certain people that are Pisces that have come into their own. The other one is now, she wrote the book Dying to Be Me, and Anita Morjani, and I think her chart's quite similar to mine. I know she's a sun sign Pisces with Moon in Gemini, and she wrote the book Dying to Be Me. She's just released a new book, and it's called Sensitive is the New Strong. Now, if that isn't It's Okay to Be a Pisces title of a book, I don't know what is. So sometimes what I've observed is during, and I'm sure now who wrote oh my God, I've got to think. He wrote all the books. He wrote the book, it'll come to me in a minute. Anyway, he's written all about the outer planets and their cycles and stuff. And he's a Pisces as well. But planets are expressed in signs via art and writing and politics and revolutions and all of that. So things that people create express the planets, yes. And I definitely think that Anita Morjani and Dean Radin are expressing beautifully, because I know the signs of the zodiac, I kind of follow them a lot anyway, and I've studied their charts. The whole Neptune and Pisces thing, they're actually speaking it. And I think that's lush, that a planet can be expressed through the non-conscious. These aren't astrologers, okay? These people have nothing to do with astrology. The non-conscious expression of what the planet is all about then comes through them in a creative way. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the beauty of being an astrologer. It's in some ways we can look at it and go, we know something you don't.
Yeah, you do get that feeling sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you get married, people in the news, you see them getting married and you go, you sure about that?
Yeah. So it's just having that that recognition that, I guess the thing about astrology, bottom line, is there's more to life than meets the eye. And
absolutely, yeah. And the name of, before I forget, it's Cosmos and Psyche by Richard Tarnas. It just came to me. Yeah, so he writes all about the outer planetary cycles. Yeah, sorry, interrupted you. Go on.
Yeah, no, not at all. Anyway, just thinking about you and Neptune, it made me think about me, and because I went through several years worth of Neptune squares. Yeah, I know. But you know what? It's funny because everybody talks about how much they like Jupiter transits. And obviously, conjunctions and trines, what's not to like if it's Jupiter. Although I particularly hate Jupiter squares. I don't like those at all. But I find my clients don't enjoy them either. But my two favorite planetary transits were a Pluto conjunction to the moon.
Really?
I know, isn't that brilliant?
What sign's your moon in? Scorpio?
No, not at all. It was the Pluto Capricorn, in fact. It was when Pluto, actually I've got three. Uranus conjunct my moon many moons ago. Pluto conjuncting my moon, I really enjoyed. And I don't know that the word enjoy is a word that I would use for my Neptune squares, but appreciate. I would say that the Neptune squares that I went through were the most profound because they were the most healing, and keeping in mind that I have Neptune very tightly opposite my sun, and square Jupiter in the 12th, which is also square my sun. It's a very tight T-square. So what I would say is that those Neptune squares, I think, brought me home.
Okay. Wow.
In a funny kind of way, because it's funny because it was when I happened at the time to be doing lightways already, the original lightways, and at the same time I was also doing another program called Mind Matters, which was about mental health. So what that did was it brought lots of reading into my life at that time, which deepened my work and took me deeper than I had ever been before. And that felt like, oh, I thought I was home. I wasn't home yet. And the beauty, I think, of astrology is that it always holds within it a promise. And the promise is that as you're never quite home, because you're never quite done until you're done. But you will feel like you're home when you're on the right path. And that's the beauty of it. So we know we're home when we feel we're heading in the right direction. And that, I would say, is, funnily enough, your experience of Neptune and my experience of several years of Neptune squares.
Is that when it was in Aquarius? Yeah.
it started with it in Aquarius, but it then progresses because I have a lot of Gemini all through the beginning of Pisces. So yeah, that was quite a challenge, but it was, as I say, the most profound, and probably out of all of them, the one I appreciate the most. Although, I don't want to leave the Pluto Moon conjunction out of it, because that was also amazing. So yeah, I told you, it's like you wouldn't hear that very often.
No, I've never heard anybody say that. Well, I really enjoyed that Pluto on my moon. No, I can honestly say I've not heard that.
I'm so disappointed when it left, because the feeling that came with it left. It was like this feeling of, I don't know, it was like I had grown an extra skeleton, and it was like this amazing structure that couldn't be broken. And I've never felt like that in my life, and I have to say the skeleton softened slightly after Pluto left. So, well, Mary, I just want to say thank you so much for a little tour of your chart. And I think that our audience should definitely have a look at your website. And so what is it?
It's www.maryenglish.com, or you can also find me at maryenglish.co.uk. And I've got a secondary astrology website, ukastrologer.co.uk. But everything's on maryenglish.com.
Excellent. And thank you so much once again for speaking to us today.
Thank you for having me.